How many times do you think you said the words,
"You are not the father"?
About 7,000 or 8,000 times. If they did something that was kind of racy, we had to follow up the next day with something racier. The other day, this guy comes down the hall and gives me this big hug. That's 50 Cent. Who would have thought? 50 Cent knows me? There would be no national career without being able to marry Connie Chung. I'm Maury Povich, and this is ET's Then and Now. I would say the golden age of daytime television talk that kind of ran TV from the late 1980s until the early 2000s. There were 20 of us on the air and another 50 that didn't make it that were in the graveyard.
Wipe that smile off your face now.
It was so competitive. At one time, beginning in like 91 when I started, Oprah had gone on before, Donahue was still there, Geraldo had been on the air, and then I came along, and then Montel Williams came along, Ricky Lake, Jenny Jones, Sally Jesse Raphael. She was there from the beginning. Joan Rivers had a show. It was never ending, and we were so competitive that all we did was look at every other competitor's ratings every day, and if they did something that was kind of racy, very edgy, and they got a good rating, well, then we had to follow up the next day with something racier. The Geraldo show in 1988 kind of started it all. After that, I'm sure, security guards became so prevalent that Jerry's security guard, Steve Wilkos, has his own show and has been on the air for years. So, security guards ended up being stars of the show. Those kinds of shows spawned the Housewives franchise, the Jersey Shore, the Kardashians, Big Brother, you name it. All those shows that exist today came out of our shows in those years. Same themes, same conflict, contradiction, throwing things around, confrontation of supposedly loved ones. It all came out of the 90s and the early 2000s.
when you think about that time, especially when it was just like you're one-upping the next, is there a moment, good or bad, that stands out in your mind as like, oh, I'll never forget that?
Well, first of all, it kind of changed in 1996 in a very bad, tragic way, because on the Jenny Jones show, somebody got murdered afterwards because there was a surprise about a particular guest.
Guess what? It's Scott that has the crush on you.
You lied to me.
Yes, it was a reckoning for all the talk shows when 24-year-old Jonathan Schmitz murdered fellow Jenny Jones guest Scott Amador 3 days after being surprised by his crush.
That changed it so that it's a bridge too far.
Interesting.
All the guests from then on had to know what was going on, had to know there were no more surprises, no more additions that they didn't know about. There were pages and pages of a contract that they had to sign in order to go on the air. There would be questions like, if we do this, if we bring on somebody, and they would sign a form, and so that they knew about the fact that they might, have a surprise on the air.
Okay.
And so therefore they were prepared for it. Our main themes, of course, were lie detectors and paternity tests and out-of-control teenagers. Those were our major themes.
Derek, you are not.
How many times do you think you said the words, "You are not the father"? If you had to guess.
I would say, if I did, let's say 6,000 shows, so let's say a third of them were DNA, 3 guests, 6,000, a third, about 7,000 or 8,000 times.
Amazing. And then I'm sure with all the other fans stopping on the street too, you can probably double that.
That's still going on. First of all, the show's in reruns
Yep.
and doing very well.
Yep.
It's been in reruns now. This is the 4th year.
Amazing.
And so we're very happy. It's the show that keeps on giving.
Like the fact that people are still coming up to you on the street.
The other day I'm doing a show, I'm on a talk show, and all of a sudden this guy comes down the hall and gives me this big hug and says, "My man," and I look and it's 50 Cent. Who would have thought 50 Cent knows me? I mean, I'm amazed at I'm amazed at how people remember me. Everybody seems to have a story, either a story about how they faked being sick at home, trying to convince their parents they were sick in order to stay home and watch the show, or athletes telling me they wouldn't come out of the locker room to go to practice until they found out who the father was, or Shaquille O'Neal telling me he and his buddies bet every day as to who the father was.
Maury's iconic catchphrase also led to some pretty epic cameos.
Tracy, meet your father, Tom.
I hate you, Thomas Jefferson. I don't know who I am anymore.
From 30 Rock to How I Met Your Mother, Maury even made it to the big screen in Medea's Big Happy Family.
This is what Medea had to say to my producers.
Brown is a low-down dirt. He is a liar. He is a cheater.
But E.T. first met a then 49-year-old Maury in 1988 during his time hosting the tabloid news magazine show A Current Affair.
Should we allow these potentially dangerous dogs to be sold as house pets?
We dug up your very first interview with E.T.
I say at times the show's gone too far. I also say at times the show is spectacular. I mean, you can't get great without getting bad. So what you hope is that your hits outweigh your strikeouts.
You know, that suit, we called it the banana suit because every time I wore it, we got a big number. A banana suit. Everybody on A Current Affair said, "Mark, we need a number. Would you wear the banana suit?"
What is it like when you see that, when you watch that again?
Well, you know what I look at? I look young. I look young. That had to be around 1987, 88, 89, somewhere in there.
I mean, comfortable on camera,
Yeah,
lots
well,
of great advice.
well.
What advice would you have for this young man?
I would say, don't be so full of yourself. You got a lot to learn.
Do you have a career highlight when you think back of everything you've accomplished and all the shows?
Well,
and
believe
big
it or
small?
not, my career highlight, I definitely believe there would be no national career without being able to marry Connie Chung. I think she changed my life forever, and I don't know how I don't know what it was about that, but all I can tell you is, if you track my career, I marry her at the end of 1984. Current Affair starts in 1986, and the rest is history. And I guarantee it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't been married.
Tell us the story of how you met.
She was the secretary for the news director at a local television station I was working in Washington. We had no love at first sight. I mean, I was still married, but later on, I worked with her as her second banana in Los Angeles. And I was divorced, and we started to date. And we dated for 7.5 years, not exclusively. She had her Hollywood people she saw, and she always says, "You didn't even know the first names of the people you saw, Maury." What happened was she asked me to get married. I didn't want to. I asked her to get married. She didn't want to. And then she called me up in 1984 and said, "We can get married." And I said, "How come?" She says, "Because I found a dress." And 6 weeks later, we were married.
As for Maury's life now, he and Connie split their time between New York City and Florida. Their adopted son Matthew got engaged in 2024. Maury also has 2 older daughters, Susan and Amy, from his first marriage, and 4 grandchildren.
I'm a very early riser, unlike my wife, who gets up at the crack of 10, 11. We have a dog. If I'm in New York, we walk in the park in the morning. We come home. If we're in Florida, we walk on the beach.
But Maury is far from retired.
When I tell you he's done it all, he's done it all.
He hosts the podcast On Par with Maury Povich and appears in the ABC docuseries Dirty Talk when daytime talk shows rule TV, out now.
You are not the father.
I couldn't do that show today. There's no way.
What do you hope your legacy is in this industry?
Well, I always thought it never got past survivability. I mean, you know, you can have a long run if you work hard and do it right. And don't take yourself seriously. You just don't.
Yeah.
The work you do, you know, the life you don't.